Hello everyone, today we are taking a look at the GepRC CineLog20. And I was a little surprised to find this form factor in the 2-inch variety because they just launched the CineBot 30, and I quite like this, and I think several other people who had an opportunity to review did as well. And for those of you that have been around and seen my channel before, you might know that I really like the CineLog25. But these do break. I haven't broken them, but several owners have reported that they've had issues with these breaking. So does the CineLog20 suffer from the same sort of durability issue with its prop protection? Of course, I got fortunate, and just today I was able to fly it aggressively with that camera angle, so about like that. Of course, I wasn't carrying the GoPro on the fast flight. Outside, it was a balmy 34 degrees. I also have an inside flight with the naked GoPro and a slower cruisy outside flight with the naked GoPro as well. So hopefully you're sitting in your favorite chair or a comfy chair and you have your favorite beverage within arm's reach, because it might be kind of a long video, but let's see if we can chop it down some. So the version I have is with the RunCam link with the WAS camera, and it did come plug and play. P&P is the option on the GepRC website. And if you do get this same sort of setup and you have the black DJI radio, you can fly it. You don't have to rewire nothing or anything. Just bind it up like you normally would with anything that goes with this remote and fly it. So if you're wondering about the plug and play and the RunCam link, yeah, you can use this radio, which I did. Right down here is our USB port, and you do have access to that without undoing any screws. And while it might be tough to see, just above that USB port, that is the button, which I can't reach with my finger, at least not my bodgy fingers, so I use a plastic paintbrush to just kind of tap that button for binding purposes. It also comes in walk snail, good old analog, and you can get it with the DJI O3 Air unit as well. The flight controller, which you can see the USB port right down there as I put a shadow on it with my finger, is also accessible without unscrewing anything, and that is the GepRC F411. It is a 35 amp all-in-one ESC. And as I mentioned, I have the plug and play version, so the receiver is technically the RunCam Link, or the Vista by its previous name. The motors are Speedix or GepRC 1303.5 5500 kV. They do highlight their antenna, and for a micro, it's nice and small and light, and it's bendy back here. And they call this antenna the Peano, P-E-A-N-O. Of course, it's left-hand polarized, as indicated by the L right there. We've got recessed screws across the top, all the way across the top. We do have to install the GoPro mount ourselves, but it does come in the accessory kit. We've got our textured and rubberized battery mat. Unknown but fairly large capacitor out here next to the XT30. Got some silk screening on the carbon fiber. Ooh, and a quality controlled pass sticker. Good thing it passed. If you're not familiar, this top section has these rubber gimbals, or grommets you might call them, to take some of those micro vibrations out of our HD recording. And it looks like they've added these to the bottom as well. I can't hardly get my finger in there. See, down there for this camera to keep it steady as well. By contrast, the CineLog25 that came out more than a year ago, it's all kind of attached to that top assembly. So they changed their design a bit. Back here, our antenna is connected to a multi-mount, so you can use it with other sorts of receiver antennas as well. In theory, you could remove the prop guards. You can replace these individually, because each hoop is just attached to the motor on the other side, so you could fly this without prop protection if you chose to go that route. Or if you broke one, you could just buy one to replace it, or maybe even 3D print your own. It does come with a second set of foam to wrap around your prop protection, an extra set of props, an extra battery strap, antenna tube. It did come with this mount that you could use on your balance lead for your flight battery to plug in an external HD camera, extra battery mat to apply if the original wears out, antenna mount for crossfire or T-style antenna, various spare screw links and nuts. Screws also have Loctite applied to them, blue Loctite that is. An Allen key. I suspect this 3D printed piece is also for holstering your receiver that you might have. Comes with an extra foam bit that you can apply to the bottom, that bit. Some extra 3M tape to affix the extra foam to, or just for reapplication purposes. A carbon fiber GepRC keychain. We got a wiring guide here for our all-in-one flight controller and various wiring diagrams in 2 languages. We've got 2 cards, one for the GepRC marketing materials as well as downloading your manual. It also has this quick start guide that tells you a little bit about beta flight stuff as well as OSD stuff and binding stuff. Yeah, just kind of a short, sweet getting started guide. Don't forget your pre-flight checks. And last but not least, 2 sheets of stickers. Dry weight is 130 and pretty much a half grams. With my naked GoPro and the wiring harness, it weighs 180 grams. And a quarter. I did fly it on this 660 milliamp 4S G&B battery, which all up brings my flying weight all the way up to 244 and a little bit more grams. So if you're looking to get under 250, not a problem with this little guy. You can even use a bigger battery. You got 6 extra grams to work with, or 5.5. That main carbon fiber plate looks to be 2.5 millimeters thick, and the top plate for our HD camera looks like it's 2 millimeters thick. And motor post to motor post, I'm getting pretty much 100 millimeters. All right, we're gonna start with our outside flight, and this is our snowy flight. Yeah, we still have our couch cushions out. They said they're all weather, so we're just gonna let them sit and see what happens. This was actually a flight where I just was getting sick and tired of the weather being like this. Sometimes quite a bit worse, actually, and I just decided, all right, I'm going to go fly, and we're going to see what happens. I hope this thing works. Of course, I did all my pre-flight checks. I did my hover test. I was in the garage. I ran at least a battery and a half through it, just kind of hovering it around and doing... actually, I did some line-of-sight flips. Boy, I hadn't done that in a long time. That was a little bit sketchy. Thankfully, both cars were not in the garage, so I had plenty of space to not only just test it out to make sure it was flight-ready, but do my little flip and recover. We won't watch all this. This is a slow cruisy flight, and the view that you're watching is the naked GoPro from, actually, it's from FlyWhoo, kind of, you know, one of those things where it'd be nice if I had a GepRC one to use, but I don't have a GepRC naked GoPro, so I use the one that I do have, which came from FlyWhoo. By the way, this is again on that 660 milliamp 4S battery. They recommend from 450 milliamp to 650, I think, so 660 is real close to that. Flight time with the GoPro, slow like this, outside, is 3 minutes and 28 seconds, which is fairly surprising. It's considering that we just have a 2-inch prop and we're carrying that GoPro on top, and you know, this format is not necessarily light as a feather. You know, we weighed it all up. We do come in at just a few grams under 250 grams. So I was pretty happy with that sort of flight time, especially in this package. I think mainly this is going to be for somebody who wants to fly inside spaces, whether that be inside a home and you want to do real estate tours with it, or some sort of slow cruisy thing, or even an industrial space where you just need that smaller package, especially if you can go the lighter route of just getting the DJI O3, which has a really good camera, and you probably wouldn't even need an external GoPro and that extra weight. So the weight could come in about the same. Of course, you can get this analog too and just rely on your external GoPro footage. So this flight is going to go on for a while yet. I don't think we need to watch it all. You get a pretty good sample of what it looks like. It is pretty cold. Thankfully, everything went well. The control link was nice and reliable. I didn't have any issues with any sort of fail-safes, and I'm sitting there as comfortably as I can underneath the heaters in the cabana. The heaters were kind of effective, but this temperature was about 18 degrees, so I was just doing a flight and then going back inside for like 15 minutes and then going back outside and doing another flight. Some of the other flights I just wasn't very smooth at, so I decided to go with this flight. And this does have hyperflow turned on to the GoPro. Let's move forward to our inside flight with the GoPro. Before we begin, the top right-hand corner, that is the goggle view, or DVR. I have the version 1 of the DJI FPV goggles, and the main or the larger image that you're looking at is the GoPro, the naked GoPro. Inside, this is a bit sketchy. My tendency is to lean forward or get the nose forward and go fast, so I'm fighting myself the whole time. I'm sure there are some much better pilots to do this real estate sort of smooth, flowy move through the house. I'm actually just flying my typical route, trying to show you how well it is able to fly. Of course, this is inside a home, whereas you might be, if you're looking at this particular product category, you're probably looking at not only inside homes, but larger commercial or industrial spaces, and you're just needing that really small footprint. If you can get by with a larger footprint, I would highly suggest looking at the CineLog20. I think it's going to be, at least the prop protection is going to be more durable than the CineLog series. But if you're looking for something in between the CineLog30 and the CineLog20, then you've got the CineLog25, which is actually a fun flyer. I've got a full review. I've kept that one around. Obviously, that's not one that I've given away. And speaking of giving aways, I think I need to get a giveaway kind of going here in the near future, because It's been a minute and it's kind of gotten away from me. The other day I was looking at the shelves, getting pretty full. My cube gate down there, as always, sitting on that spare table because no one ever uses that table. Weebleed FPV cube gate. It is pretty expensive, but they also have kits where you can buy the parts and make your own if you want to do that. Or you can just go out on the internet and source all the parts and build your own from scratch. Probably save yourself a few dollars and just spend the extra time doing the research and finding all the different parts. But that's where those lights come from. Oh, this is a 530 milliamp battery, by the way, not the 660. I show myself in the camera footage the battery each and every time, and so that's what we've got. Inside, we're only going to get 2 minutes and 50 seconds on that smaller battery. I do suspect if I'd flown with the 660 that I would have gotten about equal, if not even more flight time outside in the same sort of configuration with the external GoPro. Just a reminder, outside we got 3 minutes and 28 seconds. Inside with the smaller 530, 2 minutes and 50 seconds. All right, we're going to move on to the faster flight. Okay, you can see me down there in the bottom left. I'm flying the camera in 4.3, so I went ahead and put my little background on this. And so I'm sitting underneath the heaters again in the cabana. Balmy 34 degrees. I do have an oopsie moment in this. I'm not necessarily smooth. My fingers are getting real cold real fast, even sitting under there. Yeah, I just wasn't on the throttle enough and got tumbled up, so decided to take off. I do have crashes that I can show you with sound, with the flight audio that I record. After this, there's 3 pretty good crashes, and then we can go back to the desk. We can look at our damage report if there is one. Suspense. And we can cover the rest of the quad, which is very, very similar to the CineLog20. It's just smaller. Of course, when the CineLog20 came out, the DJI-03 video transmission system was not an option. There you can see my camera sitting on the bar there. I think, is it this flight or was it a different flight? I had a real close call. I almost wiped out that camera with the quad. I've got to be more careful when I'm sitting up over there. I guess this is going to become my wintertime, terrible weather sort of flight position over here under the cover of the cabana and the heaters that we have installed in the ceiling. The heaters actually work fairly decently. It's just it's so cold, I can't imagine those heaters without some sort of blower being able to dissipate the heat in a wide enough area fast enough to where it would actually keep someone like myself relatively comfortable in 34 degree wind or 34 degree temperatures. And the winds, by the way, I should mention, you probably don't hear any in my flight audio camera, but the winds are measured at 8 miles an hour, so there is a bit of a breeze out there. So after that initial low throttle sit on the grass sort of spell, I do get things under control. But boy, I tell you, I took 6 flights just today over lunch. I had 8 batteries, but 6 was about all I could do. And then my fingers were just kind of locking up. It was getting real tough to just hold on to the remote. Oh, by the way, I guess it could be affecting my flight a little bit. That for those that are really eagle-eyed, I am using the DJI remote, which is not my preferred remote, but as far as a box remote goes, I do think it's, well, at least it works for me better than, say, like the TX16S. The TX16S and those of the same size are just, they're too big for my hands. I can't reach the ends of the stick inputs. But the DJI remote, I can. So, yeah, I can use that remote whenever. I'm glad it still has some use, but I don't use it that much. It usually comes up in these cases where I have the RunCam link and there's no external receiver, which, of course, right now I'm using a lot of ExpressLRS because it is awesome and works very, very well. Okay, we're going to be wrapping up this flight here shortly, and then again, I've got those 3 crashes to kind of give you a little bit of a durability sample as I curve around the bar here, as I was gonna think about landing up on top of the bar, but nope. And we got a good shot of those heaters getting the full effect, their orange glow. Okay, these are just the crashes. I don't think I really need to narrate them. Matter of fact, you probably need to hear them more than you need to hear me. Yeah, and that was on concrete. Not good. Okay, I'm sorry. I'll be quiet now. Well, geez, oh Pete. All right, I'm gonna have to start with a fresh battery. Oh, geez. Okay, so we need to do our damage report. We had those 3 crashes, and you can see I'm a little bit chewed up, and if you look at the props, the ends are turned up as well. Looks like the prop ends might be turned up all the way around. That's not uncommon. With these particular props, I don't think it affects it that much. It's going to change our noise profile a little bit, but overall, not bad. I did, when I hit the concrete, I did kind of scuff up my camera up here. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I'm not certain which, I don't think I damaged the lens. You know, these lenses kind of stick out. They're kind of round. Is that concave? I think that is what it is. Concave, where it sticks out. But I don't see any damage on the lens. Hopefully you didn't see it in the picture, because that crash came as one of my first 2 flights versus the flight that I showed you more in full was the 3rd flight, and then the 4th flight was the one where I hit that big wooden planter sitting over on the patio. So yeah, that was my 4th flight, and then that was the end. You can see here where I got tangled up in my wife's birthday strings over there, her celebration of 29, her anniversary of her 29th birthday. So what broke? Did anything break? Do you see any breakages? Anyone? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, we got a little breakage right here. This one right here. This is our broken one. That did happen on that final flight. It's a little bit unfair. I guess there's a few qualifiers that I have to make. Again, it's plastic, and I was out there flying, and I didn't bring it back in to warm up between my flights. It just went out. It's 34 degrees, just above freezing. Cold temperatures and plastics and impacts, those are things that don't mix. But so, yeah, I'm not disappointed by that, because I had a couple of pretty good crashes. And there was one other crash I didn't show where I was actually going to land on the little storage container that we have underneath the TV. And I couldn't quite see where it was, and I ended up landing kind of halfway on it, and then I tumbled off. Thankfully, I had my GoPro camera on there, and I didn't damage that as well. So if you consider that a crash, that would be the 4th crash. Of course, I had several little bumps in the house as I was trying to maneuver in the house. But there's not a whole lot more to report on this. I kind of covered in the intro as far as having recessed screws everywhere. That's a nice touch, and they're all hex-headed. This does come in your accessory bag. You do have to attach it yourself, and they did redesign this this platform up here, so our HD camera is on its own sort of vibration dampening, and our FPV camera has its own down there as well, so that's a good thing. That may have saved my camera a little bit. You know, when I had that crash near the pool and I hit the cement, it may have given a little bit so that I didn't damage the glass. We've covered how the USB port and the binding button are accessible in this configuration, as well as the USB port for our flight controller, so there's no disassembly needed. You should be, even if you have like a different sort of receiver, as long as it's not an FrSky receiver that requires you to touch the button, you should be able to bind this up without doing any sort of disassembly or pulling things apart. The platform is very, very similar to the CineLog20. It's just a smaller platform, which makes sense, right? One for every size. To me, there's some slight changes that they made here in the body, and actually the arms on this one, this arm area is far thicker than it is over here. I wonder if they've redesigned this frame piece in the 20, because this is like their V1 launch of the CineLog20. So you might want to look at the pictures on the GepRC website to see if this arm is still thin like this, or if it's real thick out here like this, and they may have redesigned this front, excuse me, my tongue, this front platform to where you would have the same sort. So I'm just comparing what I have, but it could be different if you were to buy one of these now. Of course, I think the CineBot30 is really, really durable. I pounded this frame on my desk, and I have kept it together with my clunky receiver out here on the end. This one flies pretty nice. Oh, my lens cap. So I think they've got 3 pretty good candidates, whereas I think this one is going to be the most durable, but it's also the least indoor friendly because it is 3-inch, and then of course you have the prop guard, or is it 2.5? No, it's CineBot30. It's 3-inch. This one is going to be a little bit more indoor friendly, and it's also going to be a little bit more outdoor friendly. It's going to be more freestyle capable or racing capable, depending upon what you do. Of course, it's got 5-bladed props, so the noise profile is going to be different than yet again. And then they've got the CineLog20, where it's probably the smallest platform that they have, I believe. Now, I'm certain they haven't gone below the 2-inch platform for HD and this CineWhoops sort of format for quads with the purpose of carrying an external HD camera. I'm hearing from those people who have the O3, which my goggles 2 have still not shipped, with a O2 camera, or excuse me, O3 camera, you probably don't even need the HD external HD camera, so you can save yourself some weight there. But overall, I think it's a pretty good design. You know, I had those crashes, and I did break this one little spur out over here. Myself, what I'm going to do when I'm done recording the video is I'm just going to take some crazy glue, glue that together, and then I'm going to take some E6000 and kind of swap it around to give it a little bit rubberized stability as well as rigid stability with the crazy glue, and continue to fly it just like this. Of course, we can replace the individual whoops. I would have kind of liked to seen at least one spare whoop. I'm going to call this a whoop even though it's not a whoop, okay? And one spare of these in our accessory bag, because GepRC includes all those different accessories. One of these inside the box would have been nice, but maybe it was a packing issue because of all the other accessories. But let me know, what would you give up of the accessories in order to get one or more spare whoops? One question that does come up from time to time is, did I change the PID tune? No, when it comes to reviews, I leave the PID tune alone unless it's dramatically bad. And then I'll start the video with showing you the original PID tune and then what I came up with. That's really rare, so in this case, just to clarify, no, I did not change the PID tune. What I do change is I move the OSD elements around where I like to see them, where I'm familiar with them, and then I put on my rates. My rates, I have a video on that. If you want to see my rates, just go to the channel and type my rates. I'll link it down in the video description below as well. I use high rates. I pinch, hybrid pinch, I'm told, so I use 2 fingers, but my rates work for me if you're curious about those things. Tell me, what do you think of the CineLog20 versus the 25? For those of you that have seen both of my videos, I think the CineLog25 came out back when we still had a swing set. So, was that 2 years ago? It had to have been more than a year and a half. And then, of course, we have the relatively new CineBot30, and will GepRC make a smaller version of the CineBot30? Will we see a CineBot25 and a CineBot20? I'm curious. Very curious, because I think this prop protection is going to probably be one that more people, at least if you're depending upon the prop protection being fairly durable, not just protecting you from bumping into humans, but if you're wanting it to actually protect your quad and the propellers in more dramatic crashes, this is going to hold up better than those. So that's an option that you do have to weigh. The price on, not this one, I'm holding the wrong one, the price on the CineLog20, it varies. It ranges from the analog version, which you can get for as little as $199, all the way up to the DJI 03 version at $515. So, how many of you Goggle 2 owners, I guess the V2 goggles also work. I don't have those on the 03 Air unit. How many of those are looking for a small, super small 03 installed CineWhoop? How many? 2, 3, 4? Well, if you do have any comments, questions, suggestions, or otherwise about the CineLog20, I keep wanting to say CineBot20, CineLog20, please let me know in the comment section below. I appreciate your time. And thanks for watching.